Good evening, everyone. Today, we're gonna talk in a different format. I, as Alexander, acting from the viewer side, will be asking Evgeny Levin tricky, complicated questions. Evgeny Levin, in turn, will answer them and demonstrate on his screen, explaining certain points. I prepared a list of questions from my side. We go through them, probably present this in the form of some kind of a podcast. We try to choose the trickiest and most difficult questions, the one that only he can answer. So I pass to the Evgeny. Yes, good evening, everyone. Today the format will be specific nature, question and answer. So yes, Alexander, prepare the questions as I understand. And of course, I don't know much of them. Some of the questions we discussed beforehand, but about 50% I absolutely have no idea. Neither the question nor accordingly the answers. I'll be answering them at the moment. So let's get started with the first question. So kind of opening one. Probably we'll start with the general questions. What type of arbitrage do you use in Arbcore? In fact, there are many types of arbitrage. Arbitrage can also take place on CEX, on DEX, through bridges. So in reality, there are many strategies. And the current moment we work with CEX exchanges. So yeah, centralized exchanges. And we use synchronous arbitrage. So what is it? For example, there's a cycle arbitrage, right? I briefly explained how it works and why it's not convenient to use now and what synchronous mean. The same analogy for comparison. We worked 5 years ago, 4 or 5 years, when we started our activity in arbitrage, and at that moment, the cycle arbitrage was very relevant. We would buy one exchange, transfer to another exchange, sell there. And why was such a strategy relevant then? Because exchanges didn't manage to keep up with each other price positions. They weren't that many bot-based elements and the exchanges themselves, and accordingly this allowed high-quality cycle arbitrage. Then of course, over the time, year after year, naturally improvements of exchanges, improvements of the exchange segment, various technologies, including security, that's how we came to a certain conclusion that cycle arbitrage becomes unprofitable and inconvenient, because while you are transferring from one exchange to another, the price can change and you cannot just fail to earn, you can get in minus. If we start considering such type of cycle arbitrage, then what is it? It's when at the same moment we send orders to one exchange to buy and to another exchange to sell in equal amounts. Essentially, how does the flows work? We send 50,000 USDT, for example, on Max, and perform conversion, kind of a swap. We buy Solana, and accordingly we send the equivalent of $50,000 in Solana to Gate. And accordingly, we exchange Solana back into USDT. And at that moment, the difference, a certain spread is formed. And this spread, accordingly, the transaction hash, we already broadcast in personal dashboard. So, in fact, that's the answer to the first question. The current moment synchronous arbitrage is quite profitable from the point of view of profitability, because it happens instantly, and from the point of security, because the transactions happens here and now at one moment on two exchanges simultaneously at the same time, which reduce the risk of losing the asset and similar things. We also save a lot of time on that. But yes, I understand that we go in more into details about the system itself, what's happening under the engine, for those partners who would like to see not just the dashboard, but actually understand it. Yes, I'm sure that the exchange that we mentioned, we analyzed them again during the Zoom. The second question is also important one and it comes up quite often. What arbitrage bots does the company use? Okay, since we already on the Zoom, I had a technical breakdown prepared and I won't focus on it for too long, but I will now share my screen and let's quickly go through which bots are used, how many there are, and what are their qualities. Just briefly, to the point, because this information will in any case be published over the time on the website as an FAQ. By the way, these questions you're asking now, I think we'll build a certain model from them and add it to the FAQ section where people will be able to read in details about each strategy and each bot. After this Zoom, I think we will get to it, pass to the technical department so they can do it. One moment, I just share the screen. Can you see?
Секунду еще грузится.
One moment, still loading.
Отлично видно.
Great, I can see. Okay, let me refresh the page. Yes, great. So, again, this structure is made more for me, right? More for me and more to show the audience how this works. When we recorded the first technical Zoom, we actually did it precisely to be able to explain complex things in simple words. In the left column, we have the arbitrage bots, as such, the ones we trade with, the one we work with, which are implemented on the exchanges. These are classic arbitrage bots, let's call them that. Arbitrage bots with asset transfers. Again, we'll describe everything in details. We will write it all on the website. There we can click through them and see what this or that bot represent. I won't focus on that. I repeat it once again. We publish it on the website. Right now I'm just showing the model. Briefly speaking, these three bots are the main ones. These three bots are the bots that control these bots. And the last one is actually the most core bots, kind of a central bot, which controls all bots. All bots in order to prevent loss of funds for the partner and accordingly for the company. Therefore, in more detail about all models, we will publish them on the website, once again, where people will be able to know with information and understand more deeply and clearly how it works. Next, there is the code, how we connect to the exchange. Those who understand will understand. Those who don't, well, you can see it at this stage at least. There is the software bot for each specific bot. We open it, they're completely different in their own way, but in principle, you can review them as well. And API report. Essentially, all bots are now integrated because during the first recording, those three bots were still in a testing stage, how they react to one situation or another. Now all of them have been fully added, and here there is a report. For example, if we take most recent ones, there are 26. Here are our latest trades, where there is success and where there's status that the trade is impossible for certain reasons, because the bots detected a specific error. And then, so to speak, an operator gets involved. He can execute the trade if one level is critical, he checks it, right? If, for example, the indicator goes to level 3, then of course his trade doesn't even start. And objectively, this is all shown in dashboard. We have a certain time frame according to which a trade is formed, and there's a specific time. I think many partners have asked why initially one trade is formed and then at the moment where it's not yet fully formed, the position changes, right? This is exactly the position change, because the bot sees certain risk element and in the current execution, so accordingly there is a change in both the exchanges and the quotes. So those who carefully watch the dashboard will definitely notice this, and it happens often, but again, we won't dwell on this for long, so 7 arbitrage bots are what we use at the current moment. And of course, when arbitrage on DEX is added, there will be its own strategies, smart contracts will be opened as well, and we'll analyze that too. Right here, right now, we're focusing specifically on a sex arbitrage. Next question, please. Great, so let's probably move on to the more in-depth pool of questions. How many servers are there and which countries are they located? Okay, regarding the server side, essentially at the moment we're using around 26 exchanges on a sex side, and accordingly 26 locations where the servers are located. For example, we take Bybit. Bybit is Singapore and Amazon. Here is the characteristics of the server, and here essentially is the time frame for signal delivery. Everything is green, in fact we can work with it. Here we can see the same thing, right? Amazon, Canada, and there's more factors. Country, characteristics, and the provider itself, and the response time that we have. We can click through all this. Naturally, at the bottom, there is a server-to-server usage algorithm. our server connected directly to the exchange, and how exactly this connection implemented. Well, in fact, we don't have any red indicators as far as I can see. Let me refresh. Yes, everything green. At the moment, there's no specific violations. Everything is reported very quickly and smoothly. At the time when we recorded the first technical Zoom, some exchanges were actually taking a very long time to return certain values, and all of this response time was more. It was lit up for a very long time. Everything was red, and accordingly we couldn't execute trades on those exchanges. At first we thought it was a problem with the exchange itself, with the response, right? That's when that this was returning data very slowly. No, later we figured out, in fact, it was a server configuration issue. The server simply needed to be configured properly in order to communicate more correctly. So it's not enough to just have a server, it also needs to be properly configured and settled, migrated, so that they're full synchronization with the exchange. Because some of the requests to that exchange's outputs, it might not be a single request, it can be several requests per second, and accordingly a certain QoI is formed, and due to this QoI latency, the response is formed. So the bot itself, look at the further as the questions comes up, accordingly react to its profitable execution of the trade. Also, in reality, this issue is simply that the server needs to be configured better, so that's one of the important element in my opinion. So we briefly just answered that question. Yes, I think that's more than enough. Let's go through the security bots that the company uses. Sure. Regarding security, again, we have a model here. After the first technical Zoom, many partners asked what the difference in between arbitrage bots and security bots, since, roughly speaking, there seems to be some similar aspects. Yeah, they're similar, but their functionality is completely different. It's arbitrage bot, still arbitrage bot, of course, but they're separate into security system. Because each of the bots, again, I got the description on the website so people can understand clearly. We won't read everything out now, it would take too long. There's an API connection, accordingly the model's program code exists, API ports are also available. Here we can see them. Trade allowed, trade prohibited, and when the trade is prohibited, once again, we discussed earlier, if a trade is prohibited, another trade is immediately selected. Accordingly, this trade is not executed, even though we see that the spread per unit is 0.42, there was a violation. That's exactly what security bots are. They are bots responsible for the safety of funds and for the safe execution of arbitrage commands. Yes, arbitrage commands executed by the bot. Accordingly, I can't single out one main bot here. If with arbitrage bots, we distribute them, 3 main ones, 3 secondary ones, and one that control everything, here's the model is slightly different. Each bot controls the other, and in the end, when there is full alignment of the parameters that we set for trading, for arbitrage trading, we see this kind of result. When are no conflicts between the bots, well, okay, here's a small conflict you can see. And even with such seemingly insignificant conflict, the bot signals the trade already cancelled. Again, even though the spread is very good, but we also see below that, for example, 0.35 per unit. Also fairly good spread, and the trade was allowed. We have an indicator, yellow meaning it's under review. Trades are executed, all except the cancelled one. What does it under review mean? A trade under review, that's the trade that we memorize at the moment. That is actually executed. If we see there is no critical moments, then of course the operator, we have 4 operators per day on duty, right? All of this happen automatically, but in any case there must be an operator who monitors this or at that moment. Because if we just let everything run freely, then even in situations where a trade is questionable, it wouldn't go through. We would lose money. That's why operator is needed, is required. He simply, even at this moment, in his admin panel confirms that the trade, if he sees that there is no critical level, no red indicator, and he also sees the code that was returned, for what reasons, right? Well, not returned by the exchange, but the bot sent a certain request and received a response from exchange. And if it's if it's really negative, then the trade is not executed, and everything is positive, or there's a yellow element, a kind of a middle ground. Could execute it, could not. That's at the discretion of the operator. but there have not yet been any critical trades, so to speak, that went to zero or into negative. As at the current moment, we've been working for about a month and a half already, so the system is proving itself. The security system shows fairly high quality performance, again not because the algorithms are complex, but because they are properly configured. After all these algorithms individually can be purchased on the internet. These bots, of course, these need to be refined, right? Each bot needs to be refined, its own way that's function within the overall system. But in general, all this can be acquired. But this issue is not acquisition. The issue is configuration and synchronization of all elements. So security bots works, for example, together with arbitrage bots. So there is a good interaction with the server side, installation on servers plus adaptation with the exchange. That's a very labor-intensive process. Filtering and configuring this entire system so that as a whole it's a complicated procedure. So during the process we don't have losing trades and don't execute trades that could push company assets into the negative. So yeah, that's right. Let's continue. I think it's time to move on to the discussion pools. How many pools are you using at the current moment and in what volumes? Okay, pools, right? Yeah, here's pools. At the current moment, look, what we now see in the web version on the site. In the minimap, of course, we won't be able to load this much data, so step by step. How many pools are there. In the web version on the site, all of this will be implemented. Again, this interface is made for me right now. It's made for me as a viewing tool, so I see how much in particular trade yielded. I can see this history in personal dashboard right now. We're about to roll out all the pools that we are trading. So each person will see the pool they're currently in here and now. Essentially, at the moment there are 17 of them. Naturally, company funds are also presented here. We can switch between them and see where which trading is taking place. Here we take into the top, here we can see what's happening, which exchange, which spread, and if you see changes and the spread themselves, also because of this, here for example spread of 97, we scroll up, here's 99, we scroll up 81. Many partners have questions why did my daily income amount 1.3% while my partners was for example 1.8%. Everything depends on which pool the assets end up in. Today, during the morning coffee break, we were just discussing this point. Possibly we'll come to a decision where the assets amount will be split into several parts so that the distribution across the different pools, a person can use part of the assets to, well, roughly speaking, Tosha spread of 81 as a whole, for example, and also 99. But this accordingly, the percentage become higher and the average arithmetic percentage taken together will give for such partners somewhere around 1.7 on average, which in principle is acceptable both for the partner and accordingly for the company, because the company fulfills the obligation in this way and closes its own issue. At the current moment we have 17 pools, all of them can be viewed, all this will be added to the web version of the site. I think within a week we deploy everything, and all partners will already be able to clarify and observe which pool we work in at the current moment, what the spread in particular pool given here and now, and all this will be added to the resource. So I think nothing more here to explain. There is a date, time, there is exchange where it takes place, there is exchange of operation, there is USDT exchange, the volume in USDT, the volume of Solana, the spread that we receive, all this is the same what we have in personal dashboards, but already with transactions hashes with display of transactions. So I think there's not much to discuss. It's simple mode, right? A revenue model. How much do we earn? Nice. Okay, let's move to the errors. Are there any errors at all in executing certain trades or inconsistencies during arbitrage, and how do you work with that? Yes, of course there are errors. Every exchange has them, some more, some less. Here you can see, for example, a few errors. Again, this is not an arbitrage error, this is a specific request-related error. Here we have cancel trades. That's where we're sent a request, and for some reasons, again, the reason could be, as we said initially, a server because of the lock or errors, right? It could be error in the synchronization of certain data. These are any errors that may appear where the bots detect some kind of risk direction and where it does not recommend executing a trade at that moment. So in fact, every exchange has a set of errors, and some have just a small number of them, others more. For example, Binance. It's supposed to be a top exchange, but look at how many errors Binance produced over the period. There are also technical errors. This we can already examine directly in the code, yes, to also understand how to deal with them. I think we also see what we're talking about here. But yes, errors of course exist. They're not critical, many of them non-critical, but nevertheless arbitrage itself is a living organism. We can associate it with some kind of a living thing that works online right now. And essentially here and now we're taking spreads, we analyze this in markets. Our bots working for us. They analyze the market, analyze the pros and cons, analyze the profitability of the trade itself or the unprofitability of the trade. And naturally, the request we send to the exchange, the responses we receive, and of course, an element of error is present here, but overall, over the entire period of operation and the beta tests that we conducted, there actually weren't that many of them. Most cases were related precisely to servers, which I mentioned above. Specifically, tell me the time frame, and I tell you. Yes, the time frame. We didn't fit into a certain time frame. Accordingly, the exchange returned and response to us. We proceeded slowly, and this caused a number of errors, due to which trades were actually cancelled. But we figured this out, and why I already said on Zoom. For us, this was a serious trial month. We actually eliminated many such issues, and now the system, in my opinion, works perfectly. But overall, regarding errors, I think there's not much more to say. Of course they exist, of course they're here and probably in any business, but we look at them, analyze them, and try to resolve them as the problem in our side. Excellent. That's a good answer. Another question here, how many exchanges are involved? Is there a main core and what is the core in general, where all exchanges are monitored? Oh, yes, of course. We just go into this. Here, we can see it. This is the foundation of all foundations. This is our, again, this visual part of the core. We see incomplete functionality. This is a reduced version of the core. All this data, all it's running here now. We all be delivered to our website. The website will have full integration of this model so that each partner could see what spreads were, for example, are given in a particular cryptocurrency and on which exchange, in which country. A particular spread is occurring at the moment. Yes, we see large movements because markets change and accordingly trading is ongoing and spread change too, but even if we look at the core, we can see spreads exist all the time. We can see such peak elements. We could say, wow, on a Bitcoin you could earn, say, $900 to $1,000. Yes, we could earn such amounts. For example, there were sufficient volumes on that exchange. You always need to look at the average value. Again, in the full core we have an addition to Quartz and the entire exchange database volumes as well. We didn't enable them here because it would break the visual structure itself of what we want to show you. But statistically, I will say that you always need to choose the middle, the golden middle. Our golden middle is from $300 per Bitcoin to $500. In principle, there's a ratio here, you know, a ratio of price and the ratio of quality. Quality for us means volume on exchanges that we could exchange without paying, and stable spread that we see on a regular basis. Bitcoin is already on the site. We have opened limits, yes. No limits. The percentage of portability that a particular cryptocurrency provides, again based on the core data, and how much Bitcoin can yield per day using an arbitrage strategy. This is on the site. But for integration of all exchanges, there are about 427 of them that we use at the current moment. It will take a very long time to scroll down and very long time to scroll up. But nevertheless, all this is used. Next, we can also look at the Ethereum. It seems like smaller spreads, right, compared to Bitcoin, but don't forget the price of Bitcoin and the price of Ether. If you again take the middle, the average, this range and multiply it by the price of Ether, or divide the price of Bitcoin by the price of Ether, we will get results that no worse than Bitcoins, and in some position even better. Everything, again, depends on which market we enter and which markets we work with. In order to integrate all these exchanges, we currently using legal model where we want to open in 4 different countries. That's our model that we're using. We have China, we have Europe, we will have USA, and we will have Canada. In principle, I think these 4 company models will allow us to cover all the markets that we're currently monitoring and that we will use in the future. We can also see Solana. We see certain spread, again, maximum, minimum. You need to take the average, but here the stop is taken because we take a single unit. Per 1 unit, there will be no arbitrage spread because commissions will eat everything up and will be in negative, but with volume, let's say 100, we were earning an average right now, which is the golden middle. We have 50,000 held in Solana. And that's exactly the values that we have. But let's not forget that right now we're using top exchanges, right? And going forward into the future, we will continue to use them, but in addition, other countries will also be added. If we have China, Nigeria, Argentina, Vietnam, in fact, the pricing from exchanges is very broad, and the quality of operations, meaning, let's say, the capitalization that the company can accept in full volume when we integrate all exchanges, we integrate all cryptocurrencies that are listed on a website, the company can painlessly, without trouble, operate. At the moment, with more than $1 billion, which allow us to maximize capitalization, to expand as much as possible, and not to worry at some point. We have situations where assets exceed what we're able to trade, yes, at the moment, but therefore, of course, the system is both secured. We will, with the correct, again, I repeat, configurations. So, in general, this model is also transparent, because we can directly, here and now, retransmit the spreads essentially online. We can retransmit all transactions, we can show where the income comes from and how the integrity of the company as a whole is formed. Yes, that's how we manage its capital. Let's say, regarding what else we can highlight in the core, we have broken down 5 elements: the bot, ARBCORE security, server, pool, and errors. That's how they are, allocated in the separate folders. The partners can see how communication happens, and the exchanges accordingly where the bots are. Here, the communications of the bots. Here's the responses on the exchanges, what is being displayed. We can click through all this, we can see the various requested that we sent, and everything here is obvious and clearly. Those who understand, again, who understand how it works in code writing, in writing requests, they can verify this. Also regarding the pools, we have the pools that currently operating. We click through them. Those who know how requests send it, what comes back, can also confirm and see it. Next, regarding servers, you see this exactly what I'm talking about, highlighted in red, where at some point a request dropped off. The reason is either the server, again on our side, somewhere not accounted for or misconfigured, or it's simply transmitted the way it is by exchange. And such moments are quite frequent, but not all trades pass a certain level of control. So in various cases, the operator has to intervene, either if the trade itself is critically negative and could lead to loss of funds, then of course this is handled automatically by the bot. But if a trade can be executed, as if there are those yellow highlighted factors, then basically it's 50-50. We can execute it or we cannot. Accordingly, the operator can confirm the trade. Next, regarding the core itself, requests, all of this we can review for those who are interested in how it works. And regarding errors, here is also error requests that are flying around. Everything visible here. Again, we won't dwell on this for too long, because overall this is already a narrow specialization for partners who understand software and program code. For all other partners, again, the core itself is that element of operation through which we can show that arbitrage exists all the time. We can directly see this here and now, at the current moment. And it actually existed 2 years ago, 3, 4, 5 years ago. Yes, it wasn't that large. The scales, because there weren't that many exchanges, there weren't large amounts of volumes on those exchanges, because markets were developing, accordingly the cryptocurrency was capitalizing, and for arbitrage traders this is probably a golden era. Because there are actually a large amount of markets and volumes on exchanges and sufficient to carry out low-risk arbitrage. At the moment, what we're doing now. Certain pools are operating not exceeding a certain value, that is 50,000 per exchange. We calmly handle various moments related to price impact on a particular cryptocurrency, and accordingly we do not fall under the exchange financial monitoring. Thanks to what? Not because we're so great, but because we created a system where security works perfectly. The arbitrage bots themselves work correctly and efficient, and we place servers close to the exchanges. That's why our response time is very fast. All of this together allows us to catch such spreads and earn them. Yes. That's regarding the core. Excellent. Thank you for the great answer. I think now we can move on a certain demonstration of what is happening on your screen and move to the question, is there an opportunity to see exchange personal accounts from the inside and verify incoming and outgoing hashes of arbitrage transactions? Yes. Let's move on to it now. I just want to note right away that we use 3 exchanges to form pools, which then move to one or another exchange in one or another cryptocurrency that is directly needed for arbitrage. These are Bybit, Binance, and OKX. But in most cases, right now we use Bybit. Why? Because, well, the exchange really show itself from a very good side, and the managers who service our accounts and the sub-accounts, accordingly, never had any questions, even though very large volumes go through. Therefore, of course, at the current moment, all main transactions go through this exchange. And let's go open it right away. And before you continue, I would like all viewers in general to see the transparency of this screen demonstration, that all data is indeed displayed directly from Bybit and not from any other source. We actually set a bit weighted, so how the use array changed. I want to draw your own attention to the fact that at the current moment there are no third-party extensions in the browser. Evgeny, could you please click on the puzzle icon and extensions where you have Tonekeeper? This? Yes. You see there's no suspicious extensions or any extensions at all besides Tonekeeper. So now refresh the Bybit page, preferably twice. Okay, rise once, twice, and third even. I think that's enough. We can continue in the future when demonstrating another exchange. Just we're gonna do the same. Well, okay, let's go straight to the history, right? We have recent consolidation from our main wallet, namely $14,000 accordingly to the Bybit exchange, and at the current moment we have also added networks today, meaning that people have already started actively using deposits in BNB. Accordingly, of course, there will also be a fast automatic consolidation into BNB. The amount that will be consolidated will then go to one or another exchange where there is already a certain volume. I want to note, briefly explain, literally in 2 minutes, that, in fact, on those exchanges where we already have certain volumes, yes, which remain there, we send out a transaction, we send a partial transaction. For example, on some exchanges we have 22,000. Accordingly, in order to perform the exchange, we need to add, let's say, 28,000 USDT. And accordingly, we form a certain pool, for example, Bybit, and send this amount, yes, directly to the exchange where the trade is happening now. If again, I repeat, the exchange is standing empty, as we can see from the history here, you can see the last trades. We can generally view the history of this account which is actually very large. Briefly, we can do it and see how many consolidations there, what amounts are moving, 50,000. This is a full pool is formed, and the consolidation accordingly does go in smaller amounts. Like, for example, let's take 14,000. Let me open Tonekeeper. The current moment, I don't know, we probably have to search for it a little. From this wallet, assets come in, from this wallet, assets are withdrawn. So let me just try to find this exact transaction. Unfortunately, most likely the browser itself does not allow us to see your Tonekeeper wallet as an extension. So we don't see it on screen. Let's go via transaction hash from the Bybit history, and from there try to go to the main wallet on the Tone smart contract, because that's what we could see with the sharing screen. Oh, okay, let's do it that way. So here's $14,000, the address on which the funds are consolidated. Again, let's open the details and open a transaction hash. Here is our address, as you can see. Yes, this is our address of our wallet and of the smart contract to which funds are received and from which after payouts are made. This is the address. Again, we open it and view all transactions that we made through our wallet. There's quite a lot of them, very much. But overall, again, this address, here we see it. This is our address when you send funds or receive them. And thankfully, now we have a lot of partners and the address has not changed. Accordingly, those partners who make deposits can go and see where their deposits, because only the MIBA changes, while the address itself remains unchanged, and payouts are made from this same address. And at the current moment in time, we have deposits, withdrawals, and similar things. It's not difficult to verify this now at all. We took from the exchange, like from Bybit. Let's just take a look. For example, open another address. For example, this. No, not this one. That was another transaction. We need to find transaction now. This is all what works with us. There are many here. You need to fully open all the hashes and track them, because for some exchanges transactions comes to us, but in the main, of course, they come from the wallet. The balances that remain on exchanges are again consolidated to Bybit in order to assemble a certain pool, if that is the case. If the balance is large enough, it remains on exchange and waits for the moment when we top up the asset. So in fact, all this is tracked via transaction hashes, because the system itself in principle is open. Okay, fine, let me... I think it makes sense for us to continue. We have now go through the main consolidations and all. Let's move to the exchange history. Let's take, for example, two exchanges at the basis and look at their history already from the inside the exchange personal accounts. Yes, they basically already open. I just opened them. I've taken into the accounts again. I switch between them quickly. Let me refresh each other exchange so that there's understanding. Several times how much? 2, 3 times? Yes, preferably 2 times. Okay, here you go. There's only Tonekeeper as extension, the wallet that's actually linked to the company. Let's just refresh the several times once more. Just the old-fashioned way. So show this and open an account. Now we review using the example of the personal account itself. Here I select certain transactions. Here in the history, it was more interesting for me to look at where two identical exchanges were involved. Why? I'll explain. Because at the moment, when we retransmit a particular trade, in fact the trade takes from 50 minutes to an hour and 10 minutes, approximately, depending on the exchange, but since the number of pools we have is still greater, in fact there are 17 of them, as I told before, then some pools are entering parallel to the current trades that are being used. Essentially, in the history, we will now observe such situations that at the moment, when one arbitrage trade is being broadcast, another pool actually arrives to the same exchange where a second volume is simultaneously being executed because the rates allow it. That's a normal practice, actually. This is how the system works. Therefore, let's consider again, taking the history into account, looking specifically at these two exchanges. Now, we had Bybit here, and Gate, and again Max, and Gate. Okay, let's analyze transaction 616 maybe. Again, here's you can see located next to each other. The same exchanges used because there was a good spread. Here we fix the transaction, open Max accordingly, and look into on the Max. Here we see 50,000 transaction hash. Let's verify it. 616. We can fully see the transaction hash, and accordingly we open Max and go through this transaction. And we can see an identical transaction. So in turn, the situation, we see that transaction fully correspond to what is actually happening on the exchange. We can see this deposit. Well, one could say it's just a deposit. Also, I repeat that with numerous deposits and withdrawals, if nothing happens on the exchange blocks accounts because it considers that this is money laundering. So, we'll go into the conversion section, into the history, and see why on our website there is a different amount of volumes when we perform a certain trading operation. Accordingly, it is different, right, from this a pool is formed. Here is a history. We can see how this or that exchange takes place, what amount goes, how much Solana, over what period. We can open a couple of pages and see everything is visible. I just refresh a couple of times so that people understand it's not a fake. And we can see 3.5, 4.9, and here's the amount of Solana that we receive. In total, we get the result that we want, right? Because since we are WP clients of practically all exchanges, because we perform a lot of trading operations, and accordingly our commissions on swaps or on trading or on other things, depending on arbitrage strategy, arbitrage boss again, where they enter and how they do it. This affects the amount. It's very minimal. Therefore, in fact, we do not incur losses. We have now gone through this. Here's Max, and now let's verify the second transaction. It was Gate, and here is a transaction on Gate. So let's open Gate. I also, before we do anything, I immediately wanted to show basically the latest transactions, how this works for us. Let me show you that swaps are also happening here. The trading itself is taking place, so people can see. Here goes the amount of SOL, the amount of USDT, then again minus SOL plus USDT. And you can see the history here. It's actually pretty large as well. Shows that we actually engaged in this activity. Let me refresh the page a couple of times. Once again. This is real. Next, let me make a deposit, on-chain deposit, and here we have a certain history. Let's find it. Again, I just forgot the amount. 406 and... Yes, I can see 406, 3KSQ, the same. Let's open, check out. Now open this here and open there. Copy it. Let's go to transactions, and you can see the beginning and the ending. You can just even pause the video for yourself and verify it. Here again we see it. Everything is identical. So using this example I'm showing here to you on two exchanges, you could, how this or that swap happens and the entries and the exits, accordingly the profit. Yes, let's just click on the profit. This is go again to the profit go to our wallet. This is our wallet that we showed initially, where we topped up by bit. This one, this profile. And again, this profile corresponds in transaction history already, where you can take a closer look. So let's sum up the results of what we currently have at this moment. Thus, we have now reviewed the inflows and outflows on the exchanges. We reviewed the trading itself, how we exchange of USDT on Solana and Solana on USDT, and I repeat that if we return here, we even see by time 250, 53, 15, 53. In fact, within 2 hours we had 4 trades go through. In fact, we used 4 pools at the moment on these 2 exchanges within 2 hours, which shows that the number of pools actually the same to the declared information that are working for us. And actually what I'm now showing to you, yes, we will of course display this in the personal accounts. Each partner could actually check it out himself. Any of the partner. Let me just open ARB, make it a bit smaller because I increased it specifically for better vision for our partners. There will be a button, pools. It will be implemented in this section and no pools will be shown just as I showed you in the model. Just let me duplicate, for example. These pools will be displayed in the main cabinet, in the back office. How much they bring, what yield they provide, not in such a global format of course, but the main part, the mechanics will be there. Plus each partner will also have written which specific pool in which here and now he is working, to what pool he connected. This will be a name, for example the 7th pool with transition, and the fact you understand that the pool database, you will see it and understand that pool exists. Since you're working in this pool, you have access to the hash transaction specifically for this particular pool. And for example, another partner got into the 5th pool, accordingly this information will be available to him. This is how all this works. Will this be implementation Telegram mini app? Most likely no, it will be only in web version because we don't want to overload the mini app itself for correct operational. To that it works quickly without long data, without too much time busy with loading, because the amount of data is very large. Accordingly, a person would like to check something for himself, it can always go to the web version of the site and look. Yes, verify the hash transaction, verify the profit of the company that company provides, see which exchange trade went. Everything is open and everything's public. Excellent answer. I think we emphasize this whole question and answer it in full. The only thing probably with which I would like to complete is 3 exchanges, for example by Bit, Max or Gate, right now that you send me your address and I would on screen sharing just like you make a transfer of any amount to this address. And we would record that received at this address, so we would make sure that indeed all the data is pulled from the exchange and delivered to your account. Moments that we could record this account really belongs to the company or to you. Okay, yes. Are you planning on the one exchange or we can do several? We could do several as you prefer. We choose Max and Gate, for example. Maybe just do all 3 then? Perfect, just perfect. Okay, all 3. So everyone could understand. Okay, we're just gonna continue further. And then you're gonna make a final transfer. I'm opening choosing USDT. You need address, yes? I need address so that I myself on a screen sharing make transfer to the address. Oh, okay. Zoom of course is interested. Where is our chat? Oh, I see the chat. Yes, the typewriter in chat. Paste. Should I send you all 3? Yes, all 3. I just gonna record them on your screen, after which I return on my own screen sharing and make the transfer. Alrighty, I'll move the call a bit because deposits on-chain deposits interfere a bit. We'll leave to the open chat, choose USDT, and choose tone. Yes, accepted. Confirm, copy. There's no memo, so we send without memo. So this one belonged to Bybit, this one to Max. We'll go one by one, and the last one is Gate. Again, choose Tom. To not show again. We have a good moment here. We have two addresses without memo. This is because many partners skip memos, and then our technical departments really struggles with restoring cryptocurrency data, so do not forget to specify memo if they are required. In fact, we have three addresses. First, let me open it again so everyone can see. This is Bybit, address from where we consolidate. From our Tone wallet, we consolidate the assets and pools are formed here. And here's the address, you can see it, you can look at the first one. I think on the recording in general, anyone will be able to pause and see, because they will also see how I'll be transferring. My only request to you is temporarily turn off your screen sharing so that I can share my own. Sure. Let me just stop the screen sharing now. Excellent. Great. Now I turn it on the screen sharing. Alright. So everything visible? Yes, perfect. Great. Then we start with transfer to Bybit, if I recorded it correctly. If I copied it. Let's just put some unique amount, like 566. 666, yes. Great, okay, confirm. Perfect. Done. The first amount has been sent to Bybit. We fixated it. Now we move to the history of the specific account to check and compare all transaction hashes for each exchange we transferring to. This transfer goes to Max. Repeat another nice amount, 666. We confirm the transfer. Great. Moving on to the Gate exchange. For Gate we need and memo ID, it must be specified here. Repeat the amount 666.66 and 6. One moment. This particular transfer will need to be confirmed. Let me probably do this last one from my phone, so it's easier for us not to enter additional passwords right now. In any case, the dashboard will see this transfer in the history as well. Yes. Basically, we already have the address, we can verify it, and the amount is essentially exactly the same, 666.666. Yes. Anyway, we'll open the same desktop dashboard just to make it easier. One second, because everyone understands perfectly well, I obviously acting from the user side and asking really difficult questions, but the first two addresses were in my trusted list, and this address, the last one, isn't, so it will be much easier if we make transfer from my phone using Face ID, and I don't need to enter additional passwords for transaction. Just give me another 20 seconds. Okay, we're just gonna wait for the deposit, and basically, what else would I like to... Oh, yes, no? What would I like to summarize while we're waiting? Directly... Oh, 1 second, I basically have both transactions from 3%. Now we can confirm that final transfer to Gate was also been completed. And these two, accordingly, were done together with you on a screen share. Now we'll wait for transaction hashes here for now. I pass the word to Evgeny, but we won't turn off the screen share so that nothing is cut or removed on the recording. Okay, great. We also need to But I also need to turn on screen sharing, yes? Yes, immediately after me will open these transactions on my screen so that later on the recording they can compare it with each other and see the exchange account. Okay, perfect. Then regarding this video review, and let's start summarizing. While we were waiting for the actual transfer for the funds to arrive on the exchange accounts, we can fully make sure that these exchanges indeed belong to the company itself and naturally that we bear full responsibility for them, meaning that the money doesn't come from nowhere, from the thin air, and no hashes are fabricated here. The official cooperation with the declared exchanges, with the exchanges that are all partners. Now, speaking generally about arbitrage, about the arbitrage model itself, in my opinion, this arbitrage strategy, namely synchronous arbitrage, is very convenient. The reason why is because in the first aspect we don't take risk. There are minimal risk where we could lose asset because arbitrage is carried out instantly. Which means buying and selling happening at the same moment. And there is certain fixation of the exchange rates, which is really saves a lot of efforts. Second, what I'd like to note, something important today, what we saw in the core system is that arbitrage always existed. We don't need to chase a specific quote or arbitrage spread because you simply won't catch it. You have to understand, and the board understand, the arbitrage always exists on these exchanges. Which arbitrage you catch, which spread you take, that's another question. But again, I repeat, it exists all the time. Therefore, with analytics, with massive database, namely the core that was shown to you, it's not difficult to analyze all these aspects. And the third point, why this model is interesting and why this business is interesting, because this direction generates enormous income. This direction provides transparent, and yes, I want to emphasize this, transparent income from which the company can afford to work completely and clearly with all investors and partners, fulfill its obligations to investor, partner, and also reward partners for working with the company. That's mean we have enough funds to cover marketing, partner marketing. This is important because for us it was probably the major stumbling block when we were implementing the product for everyone, not just for ourselves as we worked in previous years, but for a large audience, for a large community, because let's be honest, I'm used to saying things as they are. When there are network components, it always, when there's network included, it always scares the investor, it always scares the partner who work with investment, because for many people, network marketing is associated with some kind of financial pyramid. Let's call things by their proper names. Why did we decide to take a step in these products? Why did we go in that direction? Why did we see this core value here? Why weren't we afraid to implement a network program into the business model? Because we have confirmed income. We actually earn this money. Once again, the working system. Partners who already work with us know this. During 12 hours, the work is done directly for the partner, meaning all funds go to the partner, and at nighttime the company itself operates. Plus, I repeat that the marketing itself is structured in such a way that not all partners close certain ranks in order to receive specific rewards at a given moment. Part of the assets remain with the company. Of course, not only do we earn this asset, but secondly, with the compound it through compound interest, because our money also work here. And of course, this allows us to fully cover all partner expense. Not in a way do partner rewards affect the arbitrage volume. There's no such thing. The partner's rewards do not mess with the volume of the arbitrage. The partner system is designed in such a way that under no circumstances does it interact at all with the volume that works in arbitrage. Of course, naturally, we didn't develop this on our own. We developed it with the help of AI. AI was prompting us assisting. We simply set parameters, how much we earn, how the system is structured, and it outputted the results. That with this range, based on what I can analyze now, you need 21 levels in deep and accordingly this type of marketing model. And of course, then double-checked it and implemented it. After 1 month of productive work, let's say we see that overall everything's going exactly as we planned. Everything's going exactly as it was laid out and exactly as we personally verified it. There was absolutely no load, no pressure, so to speak, on the arbitrage volume or the arbitrage pool itself. And we understand that we really did the marketing system correctly. And plus, of course, the arbitrage system itself is also proven in terms of stability and probably even more than that. Probably the first priority is stability, right? When you don't lose your money, you already earning it. The second point, of course, is the profit that the arbitrage strategy generates overall. As for updates and additions, what other arbitrage strategies there will be, we'll talk about that and do similar technical reviews next time when new strategies are added. But regarding work with these exchanges, I think we've shown enough and explained much. I think this will become a main video for those partners who would like to join our company and develop together with us, so side by side. I think I just need to interrupt you for a moment. We already received transactions hashes about 5 minutes ago. I just really didn't want to interrupt you. But during the screen share where I was showing people exactly these transaction hashes, let's now close all these hashes, refresh the page, and in the history we'll see our latest 3 transfers. The one that I will probably select, this to people understand which one is about. We see transaction hash here, open it, fix it. We see transaction hash here, we open it, fix it. We see transaction hash here as well. Look, right now on the recording you can pause the video and I'll specifically remember, for example, these transaction hashes in this address bar or here at the beginning, so we can remember. By analogy, we remember these transaction hashes as well. I explain why. So that's on the Evgeny screen share. We can see whether these exact operations appeared in the exchange accounts and open them the same way we're doing it right now. I think transaction hashes are fixed. I highlight them once more like this, so they're even clearly more visible on the screen, specifically from Bybit. Great, we fixed them. Now I stop my screen sharing. Again, we won't cut anything. I stop it, and now Evgeny, start the screen sharing again from your side. Okay, I just turned it on. Can you see something? It's still loading. Okay, now I can see. Let's check one by one. First one is Bybit. Okay, Bybit it is then. We're in the deposit section. Here we see 666.666 details. One second, let's show together. This is the same account we demonstrated initially. Scroll a bit lower in the history so we can see that it's indeed the same account, the same transaction hashes, absolutely everything is the same. And that's why I wasn't showing my screen. You didn't log into some other Bybit account. You can verify this to all the viewers. Here, the address again, the one from the chat. I don't know whether the chat was visible when I forwarded to you or not. No, it wasn't visible, but the address you copied for me visible. That's enough. So yeah, the address here is transaction hash itself. Again, we open it, we see it. Here's the address. It was sent from the address it was received, and here's everything here. We can see there's 14,000. Let me refresh once more. 14,000 that came from our wallet from Tonekeeper, the one we consolidated, and the last transaction is exactly the same that came to us. Great, Bybit fixed, no doubts. Bybit's fixed. Let's refresh Max. Here's Max 666. Open detail, remove some ads to see everything clearly. 666. And we can just let me adjust. Here's transaction hash, and we open it. Loading. Just a little longer. Okay, now we can see this transaction or wallet was specified, and accordingly the amount we received to this wallet.
Шикарно.
Excellent. Can I ask you? Yes. By the way, we showed one of the hashes here earlier. Again, can you you can rewind the video and check 58,000? All the same received. Excellent. Let me just please ask you to go to the conversation section and show the conversion and show the history of conversion once again. Okay, let's go to the history and we also duplicate it. Move to the next tab. Okay, regarding Max, everything is fine, everything was received. Max was opened as well. Let's check the gate. Refreshing, and here we see 666, 666. Transaction hash. We're gonna open it by clicking. Here we have TXID 666. So essentially, once again, we analyzed one of the transactions together through the history. Here's here it is, 406.294. It's corresponding transaction that was in the dashboard, and this is the same exchange, not the exact this exact address, but the same exchange. We received transactions that Alexander sent to me. What do we see in results? All the exchanges we use belong to us, or accounts on the exchanges, and again, so to speak, asset management, my funds. Just let me duplicate it as well, so it's clear. Click one more, again showing you the swaps themselves, that is, so it's clear that the activity is actually real. So you can see the amount, relatively small, yes, within partnership, and for some partners who work with us, they're quite large, but overall within the arbitrage strategy, these are small volumes that do not disturb the operations of the exchange in any way. We don't influence anything with such volumes. There are many of them, but on the other hand, these allow us to work safely. So let's summarize the video itself and move to the personal dashboard and screen demonstration. Let me just turn it off, because we've gone through everything. It's my closing words, what I like to say. I want to thank Alexander for the fact that we worked through these questions. Thank you for taking the time to work with me so that we could show our partners the actual real operation of arbitrage, both from the technical side and from the side of the core itself. The very, very heart, the very brain, more correctly, of the arbitrage. And also the exchanges we interacted directly. What we did, we showed on these exchanges, we showed that transactions hashes correspond to the exchanges, we actually work with them, we saw how we perform a specific swap, the trading itself, yes, broken down into parts, and we display the same thing in a personal dashboard. Why are the amounts always different? Because the pools is split into certain parts, since at different moments we sell at different rates, right? But in total, after the trading is completed, we get a certain spread, and in total across two exchanges we already get an arbitrage spread. We saw this, in fact, we confirmed that, and the exchange belonged directly to the company, the accounts. We managed these exchanges, we verified that they can be funded, we verified that. I think partners who want to focus on this can pause the video and cross-check, double-check everything. We have transaction hashes. Why we did that? Because that's probably the main question. Why was this planned? Why was it? What reasons? Not in order to convince partners that the model exists as such, because many partners who work with us are themselves engaged in arbitrage and perfectly understand how the system works. We don't need to prove anything to anyone, because many partners already work in this area. They worked with before as well in manual mode, but they worked. We did this for those partners who don't understand it very well yet, for whom what is shown is in dashboard is not enough. After in dashboard we essentially show everything, and we have just as we just reviewed. But probably this is the last missing note. We was open to you, the exchanges themselves, and actually showing you that what is happening with trading operations happens, pools where they're formed, how they're sent to the exchanges, how everything is connected to each other. Probably that was the part that we're missing for some partners, and I think this video we have overall, through analysis, this model, would like to wish all partners who will watch this video good profits. I'm very pleased that you're working with us. We're doing this for you. I'm very grateful to you. It was absolutely no trouble for me to be present here, and in any way, it was even enjoyable to ask some rather particularly tricky questions that I myself receive as well, and to clarify them here on this Zoom in order to generally close any remaining questions. I was glad to be here. I thank everyone for watching and wish you a good time of day, whether you may be. Yes, that is. Wishing everyone all the best. Thank you. Goodbye.